Hey, day 2 of Wrestlemania. This is your favorite wrestling podcast. It is me, CrunkChocolate, and I'm here with the show bro, Greggo Black. We have just finished talking about day 1, so let's get into day 2, shall we? Oh man. I'm annoyed, but also like okay with this match. We're gonna start off with Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits versus the Final Testament. I am upset that technically A-Town Down Under beat the Street Profits to make it to the six-pack challenge because we very much need the Street Profits as champs. They had
I just wanted them to do something with them because I feel like
they're great.
The last 3-4 years,
it's been ugly.
It's like they went from being straight up world beaters as like people forget like when they were tag champs, like they were like breaking records with their shit, and then like once they dropped, and it was like, yeah, every time you get close again, you're never winning.
Then they almost broke them up a couple of times. Like it was real weird. And then now they've been like pushing, pitching, making you guess, are they gonna make a heel change? I don't know. It's all over the place. I still feel like they're trying to figure things out. Even like there was almost a moment where it looked like they were going to turn on Bobby Lashley after like 3 weeks. It was it was weird, and I just want the best for them.
Yeah, like I was watching Bianca and Montez were on a recent episode of the Pivot, and they were talking about that and like how for whatever reason it's like they tried to turn them heel, the fans kept cheering, so that they put them back baby faces, and just it's. I understand they are very likable personalities, but I feel like just let this like they've done with so many other things lately, especially under Triple H. Just let it cook. Like it might not come the way you want to right away, but just if you believe in this, let it run. Like unless it's something that it's not like it's the Rock situation where it's like that's too big to ignore, where we have to go ahead and pivot now. Like this is something where you can let it cook for 2-3 months and then see like, is this something that we want to go ahead and do something with, or is like we need to go ahead and pivot from there and do something else. But yeah, like I between that and then just this overall clusterfuck that's been everything involving Karrion Kross pretty much since he first debuted on the main roster, I feel like whatever aura that he had back at NXT, that shit's gone.
See, and I'm not the most familiar with NXT him. Maybe I was. No, I was. I lied. I was.
Because he had the buzz cut back then. Like the entrance was far more dope back then, and
it's funny too because he cut his hair again in WWE, and he was doing a little good vibe, and then the hair got too long. He like disappeared for a little bit and came back, and the hair was long again.
Yeah, like for whatever reason, like it feels like he grew his hair out. His body got a lot softer. It wasn't as hard as jacked as it once was, and it's not working. It's just not, and it's it's unfortunate because again, you don't always get a second chance to make a first impression, and I feel like amongst others, Karrion Kross was the creative casualty of the old man and his beef with his son-in-law. Because I could give you at least my theory on things very quickly. I feel like, and for those of y'all that don't know, the old man is Vince McMahon. That's probably the only time I hope to have to say his name.
His actual name.
So if you ever see me say the old man, that's who we're talking about. But yeah, I feel like he saw what was happening with NXT and everything that Triple H was doing there. He got jealous. when Triple H had his heart issue, he said, "Hey, I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna use this as an opportunity to, basically erase everything that Triple H was doing." And so he got rid of his pet projects. He got rid of his crew. He let William Regal jump over to AEW and all that stuff, and and turn NXT, the show itself, into a multicolored madhouse, and everybody was shitting on it,
NXT 2.0.
and I think it was at that point when people realized that the problem wasn't Bischoff, it wasn't Heyman, it wasn't even Bruce Pritchard. It was the old man. And you know we're all guilty of sticking around too long, and sometimes you just you no longer have the finger on the pulse like you used to. And for everything the old man used to do that was good, as far as the product is concerned, you just ain't got it no more. And I feel like the only way to get him out actually was everything that's come out. That was the only way they were going to be able to say, "Hey, you got to go. You got to go."
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, he would have
Yeah, he
figured out
was
a way
loaded.
to stay in charge, and nothing would have changed, and everything would have kept on sucking the way that it was 5 years ago.
Exactly.
And I feel like Karrion, because at that point when he debuted on the main roster, he was NXT champion. They had him debut, I think it was on SmackDown, if I'm not mistaken. They had him lose that first match against Jeff Hardy, and I was like, wow.
I know, right?
Like they really just did it, because it wasn't like they were pushing Jeff Hardy either at that point. So
No.
it's like you just had him just lose all randomly to this, and had him have that dumbass helmet, and I was like, dog, like what are we doing? What are we doing? And it's unfortunate, but yeah, like you fast forward 3 years because they released him, brought him back, and it's still he's fighting from underneath as far as trying to, get back to whatever worked. And I feel like part of that is just cut that hair off, bring that clock back, and we'll figure it out from there.
Mm.
And it's a shame because you brought back Paul Ellering because he had been gone for the longest. You brought back AOP who had been gone for the longest. They're not even being really used all that well. I'm like, bruh, you could be doing so much better with this, and it's just not happening.
No. Honestly, they should just turn them into like mercenaries. That's all they should do. Just have them just attacking anybody and everybody for no reason. Just that's it. Like we just need to get fear in them. And oddly enough, I think Scarlett is fucking everything up. Just their whole
the brown hair. Yes, even that's trash. I'm like, bruh, go back to blonde.
It's just because their whole vibe is supposed to be like sinister. And yes, she does a great job at being sinister, but I mean this in the nicest way. Like the brunette hair. I mean, honestly, even the blonde. And it's just like
the blonde at least had a vibe. The brown hair just ain't working for me, dog. It ain't.
See, and I think the brown hair actually gives her more like a witchy vibe, which is it fits. But I just because AOP, they're kind of like big ugly brutes, and then you got I can't remember his name, the old guy that they brought back, and he's a weird looking dude. And then you got freaking
and the thing about it,
Kross and her, and
me.
then they're kind of like beautiful together. And so you have these two beautiful people with these three like mugs, and they just don't fit very well together.
What another thing I found really annoying is that you have to understand that with Paul Ellering, you're talking about a manager of one of the most legendary tag teams ever. I mean, like the top of the top with the Road Warriors. And you have to understand like how long ago that really was, as far as when he was on top with them. So like you're talking about at least 2 or 3 generations that really haven't seen him in his prime. So it's almost like I feel like they're doing again, like it's just something of just fine tuning. It's like you got to reintroduce people as far as who he is and why he matters. And I feel like you do that, you at least start to to cultivate the story as far as whatever this final testament is supposed to be, and why he's in the middle of it, and why you should be worried if he's involved. So yeah.
All right, who do you think wins this?
Bobby and the Prophets. I just don't see anything positive happening with the final testament. And like I said, it's unfortunate because you have pieces there that should be able to work, and it just hasn't.
I'm with you. The only way I could see Final Testament winning is if
If a turn happens, and I feel like, again, I don't want to load that concept happening so many times over the course of 1 or 2 nights. I'm like,
but that's the only way you're going to be right. I think that's the only way you're going to be able to take the Street Profits seriously as like heels is if they beat up Bobby Lashley, because everybody loves Bobby Lashley, and
that's
Bobby,
so weird too. That's so weird too, because like I feel like he's so much better as a heel. But of course, when he's a heel, nobody takes him seriously as a heel because he's just that nice of a person. And I'm like when you actually gave him a mouthpiece, when you had MVP with him, it's like it all worked.
Yeah, because he didn't talk. He just stood there, just super ripped.
he didn't need to talk. And I'm like, when it's just him, it's like, how do you not like him? And it's like, is that what you want, or do you want to actually give off some type of intimidation, and that just requires another mouthpiece? And that's why you keep on having all these wet dreams about reuniting the Hurt Business in some type of way. And I'm like, it will be great, but at the same time, that moment might have already passed. So you got to figure out what can you build that's new.
All right, if it's the Hurt Business, it's like Hurt Business because it's only MVP and Bobby Lashley, and you obviously have like the Street Profits and bring in Trick or something like that. It just needs to be a new version. But the other people who are part of Street Profits that are part of that group, they can't come back. Obviously, one of them isn't even in the company anymore, but it's just the heat has fallen off the map. Like for all of them, Omos, MVP, all of them. Like Bobby Lashley is the only one who is still relevant at this moment. It's tough. All right, the battle between technically the match that doesn't matter, and it's just a style of egos. LA Knight versus AJ Styles, and I actually feel awful for AJ Styles because of the fact that bro has gotten in the best shape of his life for this match.
Like, you know what he has, but I also feel like it's hard to explain like where does AJ Styles fit in this roster right now, because
he doesn't.
It's like in a matter of months, the top end of the roster got very stacked. And it's not that AJ Styles still can't go. It's just a fact of you have people with much larger personalities than what he has, and he will probably have to do more. That's what out of his comfort zone in order to stand out more. And of course, like in LA Knight's case, I mean, at least he's on the show this time, because everybody was bitching last year when he was on the show. And it's funny because, of course, you have two TNA stalwarts from back in the day, and it's I mean, I feel like from where LA Knight was 3 or 4 months ago, he's definitely cooled off a bit as well.
Yeah,
and I feel like this would at least serve as an opportunity to, get him back on the upward trajectory, and hopefully to where, depending on where you go with the world title, he could be someone that's in the mix by the latter part of this year.
Yeah. If he beats AJ Styles, he could easily just challenge.
He could jump the line. He could jump the line.
And I think that's what because they've been talking about giving him like the Intercontinental or the United States, and they've kind of swerved away from it. But I think this could be the match that will help him get back into that. He's they and it would because the problem is he probably should have started with the Intercontinental or the United States, but he became so hot so fast he had no choice but to be in the whole top conversation because he was just so hot. He was
Yeah.
above the United States and the Intercontinental Championship at that time, but now
And
he makes sense for it.
and that's something that I feel like in its own way has kind of stunned a lot of people on the roster because if nothing else, they have known for quite some time that, you know, Roman's going to be here at WrestleMania. So it's just a matter of who's going to beat in the process. So it's like if you're going to if you're going to if you already know where you're going to end up here, how do you have him go through this person and then still keep that person relevant in the meantime until you actually are ready to possibly do something with him with the main event, with the world title at some point? Because otherwise, yeah, like you just end up, I say you end up with that person inevitably cooling down to where you kind of end up with a situation that Punk used to talk about back in the day, where it's like, how do you know you if you can use this person as someone who's marketable, someone who's bankable as a main eventer if you don't put them in that spot, if you don't give them a chance to run with the ball? If you don't do that, then you're kind of limiting your options. And I think that that's probably one of many reasons I feel like if there's ever a time to go ahead and take the belt off of Roman, it's probably now, because I feel like they have enough guys now as compared to when they first started this run with Roman. That's like you have options now. It's the pool is a whole lot deeper now than what it was back then. So you don't have to just rely on just that one person to just do everything and be everything. So like we should be in a better space now.
LA Knight, if they do things well and they keep doing what they're doing with him, they could make like LA Knight sunglasses, LA Knight. They can make LA Knight branded everything because he
Right.
just seems so popular. Obviously, he's an older dude and he's just new to the game. Well, new to this set of people.
Right.
He's been around for a while. So
Right.
that's going to be interesting because in theory, he only has what 2 to 4 more years as like the guy before
I'd
his
probably say 5 years at the most. But
yes.
again, like it's just a matter of like how long do you want to wait before you actually pull that trigger? Because again, you don't have that much time. And so it's like don't take forever. Don't drag your feet like the old man did. And you know, by the time you do pull the trigger with certain guys, it's too late. The moment's gone. So um, it would be better to get to that sooner rather than later.
1,000%. 1,000%. Did I type something wrong?
I don't know.
Oh, I'm trying to. No, it's a personal thing. Oh, probably cut that part out. All right. Next.
Io
United
Sky.
Io Sky. Okay, yes. Io Sky versus Bayley and the match that 4 or 5 months ago at Royal Rumble, I thought this was going to be the biggest match of WrestleMania, and now it has become a damn afterthought. And after all that Bayley has done for the WWE, getting so many people over and just taking L after L after L after L after L after L, everybody is saying that this is when she deserves to get her chance, but I don't think they've done enough to lift her. Like, if she beats Io, yeah, she should, but is it that big of a deal? Because I don't even think they've really made Io that dope of a champion.
It's I think what's happened here is a case of where um, you realize why they were together in the first place, because obviously with the language barrier, it's not like you can rely on EO or Oscar or Kyrie to carry an English language promo.
Mm.
And so like whatever needed to be said, that's where Bayley came in. And of course, you do still have Dakota Kai in the spot, but she doesn't have as much equity as I would say with as Bayley does as far as to this audience. And it's it's something that obviously it's like, I mean, the setup was there all along. It's just a matter of, once now that you have it, it's like now it's because they announced that like at the like a couple weeks after like the week after the Rumble, and you had to then keep this thing hot for another
Exactly.
2 months,
Uh-huh.
and they're doing a lot better with sustaining interest between pay-per-views and PLEs, whatever. But at the same time, they're not great at it just yet. At least not to where all the stories are kept hot from point A to point B. All that time in between, they still some angles get more love than others, and I feel like this one hasn't gotten the love that it should have gotten. And then of course they had and looking back at it, having that moment where Bianca was mad at Naomi for helping out Bayley, I was like, that feels like it's like you're um, deflecting and distracting from what the focus should be, which should be Bayley versus Damage Control. Because like even like in how they introduced Jade, it's like I feel like that would have been a moment where Bayley would have came about, because the issue between Bianca and Naomi was Bayley and why she wasn't coming through. But that's at this point, what's done is done. But I mean, I would definitely suspect that Bayley should win this. Maybe she gets a little bit of help. I feel like this was the moment where it would have been absolutely perfect for Mercedes to come back here, because he would be like, "Hey,
Exactly.
who taught you the Japanese? My friend Sasha Banks. Hello."
And
And then you're off to the races, and like that would have been too much like right. But I mean, I do understand why Mercedes did what she did, but at the same time, yeah, that moment was there. It was right there. Was money.
yeah, that bums me out about Mercedes. And I'm excited that she's living her boss life, doing her thing, lifting up the entire women's wrestling division at AEW, and it will
Having
raise
her
her
having
price
her
at
bap,
WWE,
have her Baps moment with the CEO, CEO,
right?
CEO, CEO,
And
which is a
hopefully she
direct rip of Gunther's theme, by the way, which is absolutely hilarious.
and it's hopefully by the time she gets back to WWE, she can her flow is a little bit smoother, because I love her, but
How
her song is
see
not great.
are we sure that her and Snoop are related? The way that song, like, bruh,
It's not
I
great.
like you have a whole Hall of Fame rapper cousin that you could have ran that one by and say, hey, what do you think right here? What could we do with this song? Redo it. How about
Like
start over,
1,000%.
start
Like
over, do
like
something else?
whoever just heard her saying it in the moment, they should have just been like, "Hey, you're a little fast. You need to
You're
slow
a
it
little
down a little
pitchy
bit."
dog. You're a little
Yeah,
pitchy dog.
like auto tune should have fixed that. Like, yeah, I don't. You're the boss, but obviously who you're working with aren't. I don't know. It bummed me out.
Yeah,
And every time I hear it, and she like tries to push it on her Instagram, and I'm just like, I do not like this song, girl. I love
this
you,
this
but I do not
this
like the
ain't
song.
it. And like for those of y'all who are old enough to remember this movie, Boogie Nights, um, when the main character Dirk Diggler tried to have a music career, and he's up in the studio singing. And I'm like, it kind of reminds me of that. Just because you got the money to do it doesn't mean you should. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Sometimes you guys got to just say, hey, let me fall back and let me get somebody else. So, matter of fact, because it's Tony Khan, be like, hey, go find this song, pay for it, and give me that, and let me go out to that. Don't let me do my own shit, please.
Like 1,000%. And I love the idea of doing, because you're definitely seeing a lot of artists doing that a lot more. Because like Bayley had the rap for the old, her old groups. We got the power, we got the fame, and even that song was just like, oh. Like I don't know what they're doing. Let's let the professionals do the professional works.
Yeah,
Let's hire
please.
real musicians and producers and artists and like
And besides, WWE is owned by TKO and Endeavor now. The value of the company is like billions and billions of dollars. So it's not like you can cry broke like in 1993. You got the money to go ahead and pay for some songs. I'm like, don't give me
right. You
that
said
shit.
Meek
Like,
Mill, but you're paying Meek Mill. Yeah, the weekend for the previous
you got a little
PPU.
weight. You got Weezy coming from WrestleMania. I'm like, dog, like y'all got money now. So like,
Yeah,
don't give me this shit about I don't want to pay for this song. I'm like, the old man's gone. You don't have to do the shit like he did. Go ahead
right,
and pay. Like your sister company got fighters coming out to real music. Y'all need to be doing the same shit.
right.
Same policy across the board.
I mean, they obviously did it with CM Punk, but I mean that's also like a stupid old song, so it's like it's probably not as expensive as he would think.
What I always find ironic is that you had your biggest star, a white guy rapping, but then you have your next biggest star with black guys doing rock. I'm like, just the whole dichotomy of all that. But yeah, I digress. Continue.
Oh, well, because to you need to make a common denominator for both. So for the white
Mm-hmm.
guy, how do you like make him less stuffy? You make him rap. And how do you make black people less scary? Surround them by rock.
There you go. Science, y'all. Science.
uh okay, so who do you think's gonna win, Io or Bayley? Is it
Yeah,
that stuck on?
that should be Billy because I'm like, I feel like for what they might eventually do with the Holy Trinity, with Naomi, Bianca, and Jade, I feel like you could do a whole lot there. You could turn one heel, you could turn two heel, you could turn all three of them heel, and then they all become options. Of course, you still would have the rest of Damage Control that you can do stuff with, and I'm trying to think who else is on the SmackDown roster. Of course, and then of course you have Big Mama just waiting in the wings whenever she gets healthy. Charlotte, and she has her history with Bayley, obviously. So I feel like the easiest money is with her, and for what it's worth, I'm glad Io got her run with the belt. But yeah, it's time to go ahead and hand them sticks off.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. Oh, who did you think was gonna win between LA Knight and AJ Styles?
It should
You
be
said,
LA Knight. Should be LA
yeah,
Knight.
that's what I thought as well. Yeah. And I'm not gonna try to be trendy and argue against you and pick AJ Styles because yeah, I don't think he's winning at all.
But I will say one thing I thought was absolutely hilarious because a couple weeks ago when they had the incident outside of AJ Styles' house, apparently that actually was his house, and it actually was the local Gainesville police that that broke them up and arrested LA Knight, and they actually promoted that on their Facebook page. Absolutely hilarious. And I was like, they must be trying to appeal to the blue line people because that's just absolutely insane that would actually hype that up, and then of course hype up WrestleMania in the process. I'm like, you got to get all the people you can
Right.
interested in this. So get all those blue liners, get all them Taker people. But hey, y'all got to watch WrestleMania as well. So come on in. Scorched.
Oh,
We going scorched earth. Scorched earth.
Taker and the Kane people. Also, side note, I think it's very weird that Undertaker does a one-man play.
I get it, but at the same time, it's just still so weird because you're talking about a guy who, for so long, kept up with his gimmick,
You right? And
and
not only that, you're just like so badass. I am an American badass, and now you're doing your theater. And like, I'm not trying to like hate or say you can't be a badass by being theater, but in terms from like WWE masculinity, it's the complete opposite.
yeah, yeah, it's just because like even like when he did his Hall of Fame speech, and basically it was kind of like became like a TED talk, and I was like, okay, I guess this is all right, but to each their own. But it's mm, yeah, um, it's different. It's
It
definitely
is.
different.
It's definitely different. Okay, the United States Championship. It's a triple threat match between Logan Paul, who is the champion, versus Randy Orton and Kevin Owens. Randy Orton, I feel like he's fallen into the spot. And I mean, but it's Randy Orton. You have to always keep him in some sort of championship match, whatever. When he was a part of RK Bro, that was like the easiest way to keep him in a storyline without giving him a belt.
Hmm.
Now that he doesn't have this other person to kind of be goofy with, he has to be in it, but he's also such a legend, he doesn't need to win anything. I also don't think I want Kevin Owens to win this.
He's actually the one that's gotten kind of jammed up, just because, of course, I think it's the same case with him as we talked about during the first
Mm,
show with Sami Zayn, where it's like because you had him in such a high spot last year, and actually the year before last with Austin, it's like we can't just leave him off the show because I feel like if it had been just Logan Paul and Orton, that's a match I would have been like, oh, that's
mhm,
interesting. And
mhm.
now it's like, and of course, like the way both WWE and AEW do triple threat matches these days, I'm like, it actually kind of annoys me because it feels like in most cases they'll have a guy basically go off camera and wait for their spot to come in instead of just having a match between three guys. And
Yes, it's just a bunch of one-on-one spots.
right, I'm like that annoys me to no end. I'm like, because by that logic, the guy that the person that's off camera taking a break, resting on the back end of the ring, they should be fresh. Because like you ain't had to do no spots for like 3 or 5 minutes, and you know we just supposed to just pretend like you know you have just as much energy as you did when you left. I'm like, that doesn't work. So like I said, like there are certain things they are getting better at, but there's still certain things where I'm like, yeah, like just tighten up just a little bit so that way the holes aren't as abundant. At least those of us who have watched long enough to know better.
Oh man, it's Logan Paul, he has to win because SummerSlam is in his home city. I don't, or unless you make him
Um,
lose it and then he wins it back at SummerSlam, but I don't want him to win it back. I want him to hold it and then lose it. And then he
um,
can disappear for a bit. But people are really, they believe that he's here to stay, that he is officially a WWE superstar right now.
but even with that, it's still a case of where he's not showing up every single week, which is unfortunate because all things considered, like he's a phenom. Like it makes no sense for somebody who works as seldomly as he does to be as good as he is. Like, because in all intents and purposes, like you've had what, maybe 10 matches at least on camera all time. And you talk about over the course of the last 2 years. And like he is absolutely like someone who actually just gets the philosophy and applies it correctly. That's him. Like there's guys on in each company right now who think they know what they're doing and don't, and then you have this guy who essentially walks off the street Granted, of course, he has his other careers elsewhere, but
Mhm.
he's come in and just like he gets it, and like he gets what he's supposed to be as a heel. He gets it as far as the ring work, and I'm like, why can't more people be a student like he is, whereas he just fucking gets it? And like, I'm pretty sure if he was more present more often, he would easily be no less than probably the third heel on the roster after Roman and Gunther, because he's just that good.
Yeah. You mean talent wise, not heat wise, because Dominic is the number
Well, well,
one heel.
well. I mean, for for he has one of those. Just he has a very smackable face,
Oh, the Bruno
and
Fernandez.
yes, shut up. uh, which was still, nonetheless, um, he like it's very easy not to like Logan Paul. Like he just
Mhm.
like some people just have that jerk vibe to them, and it's just like, oh, like, I'll fuck with you, man. And
Mhm.
and like he doesn't run from it, because I feel like too many guys nowadays.
Well, I think he did at the beginning. It took him a
Yeah,
bit to embrace it, and
well,
I'm glad
it,
that
it,
he has.
it took him a while because, of course, he was worried about his brand, and then I think he quickly realized that my brand all along has kind of been
Yes,
that
it's
smart
that I
ass
suck.
jerk and shit, and he decided to go ahead and embrace it. And I think that, um, like I said, like he gets it, and it just works. And I could I don't think KO or Orton gain anything by beating him, so I really don't see where it would make sense for Logan Paul to lose. Um, it probably will happen between now and SummerSlam, because I feel like I do see a scenario where Logan Paul gets a world title shot at SummerSlam. So there is that.
Mm,
So
mm.
we'll we'll have to see as far as what happens after Mania, but at least for Mania, I think Logan Paul has that.
Yeah, and I mean, and he could easily do like a champion versus a champion thing. Like he could just be like, "Look, I beat everybody who there is to beat. There's only the only person that I need to beat is the champ." And obviously, it's gonna be fucking Cody Rhodes. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
want
it's
to
like
get ahead of it, but yeah,
Cody would fit Logan Paul very well.
like
So yeah,
terrifyingly well, actually. Like as long as and Cody doesn't have to worry about crying against him because I'm so over him crying. I mean we talked about her quickly, but I'm over Becky Lynch crying. Like I know it's over Rue, but it's just like I'm over her and Seth getting like overly emotional anytime anyone brings up Rue. She's like, bro,
yeah,
everybody has kids. Like I get it. I get it. You love your kid, but like you guys have been in this game for way too long for someone to just mention your kid offhanded and you just like lose your shit like that. It's just like I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't hold up to me.
yeah, definitely.
Okay, and Logan Paul. All right, this is a match that I'm super excited about. I'm gonna love this. The World Heavyweight Championship. Seth Rollins, the champion, versus Drew McIntyre. CM Punk is reportedly, supposedly, rumored to be in commentary for
Hmm.
this match.
Right.
Holy shit! It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be interesting. CM Punk technically hates both of them, so who will he help? Who is the least of the two evils for CM Punk?
I think the easiest money there would be he inadvertently helps Drew, because I feel like it's easy money for him to screw over Seth Rollins, so that way, no matter what happens, one, you have the obvious money match with Punk and Drew, but then, of course, whenever that's done, assuming that he's re-signed by then, you have Seth versus Punk at some point, possibly even by, if they really want to, they could probably still do it at Mania next year. But um, there's yeah, the easiest money would be help it. He inadvertently helps Drew, and it'll be interesting to see like how fans react to that, because I feel like despite the love that Punk gets, I feel like, and even like with what happened in AEW, which we probably should talk about that interview on Monday, but nonetheless, um, he's yet to be a heel since he basically came back to wrestling, and I feel like his best work by miles was when he was a heel, and I feel like I want there to be a moment at some point where we stop with the love fest and actually dig into a heel Punk, especially the heel Punk now when everybody wants to hate him anyway. I feel like if they ever go back into that bag gonna be so big, and
As much as I want to hate CM Punk, and I hate him as a wrestler. Like he kind of drives me bonkers as a wrestler. But put him in front of a mic, give him a mic. He is amazing. He really is amazing.
I think it's very easy to explain Punk as far as a wrestler goes, because I feel like one, he's definitely a throwback, and I
Yes.
feel like, especially for where the product is now in general, like you have a guy who's not overly flashy as far as his ring work. I think in AEW that was actually part of his story, especially when he first came back, as far as that overall that ring rust and everything. But at the same time, he was able to complement that with everything he did in promos and everything he did with his character work, to where it actually made sense that okay, he's not going to be, you know, on top of everything like he was back in the day, because he's been gone for 7 years, and it doesn't make sense for him to have everything right away. And even now, like for all intents and purposes, he's only worked what, essentially 4 matches in the last 2 years. Four
Yeah.
matches.
Yeah.
So even then, it's still a case of more ring rust. And it's not like he's a young guy anymore. So it's like you really have to make sure that whenever he does work, it actually means something. And whatever, however way that you use him, of course, he's so versatile that wherever you stick him, it's more than likely going to work. And it's going to be money. Like, I don't know what people realize. Like the 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 segment, not this past Monday, but the Monday before, when it was him, Drew, and Seth,
Oh, that
that
was
that
great.
drew 2.2 million viewers just for that one segment. They
Oh
were
my.
they were on cable drawing SmackDown numbers for that one segment. Like, that's the type of drawing power this one guy has. So for all the shit that people want to give him, earned or not, the guy the guy brings viewers. So you might want to pay attention to that and figure out, like, hey, what is this guy doing right that's bringing people in as compared to what you're not doing? Is why when you come on TV, people turn to something else,
It
because
just feels real. It like that whole segment just felt real. I don't, and obviously it's all like it's planned as much as possible, but all that segment felt like is, hey, CM Punk's gonna come out, Drew's gonna come out, Seth's eventually gonna come out. Other than that, say and do whatever you guys want. Because
yeah,
like the moment when Drew called himself the chosen one and CM Punk replied back,
that was spicy.
who was
That
the
was
one?
spicy.
Like truly, like that was I got
That was
chills. I was
spicy.
like, oh my god, this is
That
so
was,
good. Like
but yeah, like
none of it felt like. hey, you need to say any of this. It was just like, hey, I don't like it. None of us like each other. So this is just us trying to one up each other. And so we don't know where this is going to go. Like if
Yeah,
CM Punk wasn't injured, it totally felt like they were about to start brawling at any moment, even with
yeah.
CM's bad arm.
Can we sidebar real quick?
Always, anytime.
Yeah, because I do feel like despite the WrestleMania talk, we gotta talk. We have to hit up this Punk interview that happened this past Monday. Uh, for those of y'all that don't know, CM Punk, who typically doesn't do a lot of interviews, especially in this long form format. Matter of fact, the only person that's really gotten him to do this since he left the first time has been Ariel Helwani. And who was he talking to on Monday? Ariel Helwani on the MMA Hour. And they're plugging WrestleMania and everything, but of course, obviously, the big thing that came about was this was his first interview since leaving AEW, and AEW were able to get quite a bit out of Punk, um, despite of the NDAs. Apparently, there's only one NDA for Punk, and that was for the original Brawl Out in 2022. And he was able to go into quite a bit with that interview. Were you able to watch the interview yet?
I didn't, but I'm going to. I'm
You
I've
absolutely need to.
I will. I will.
You absolutely need to, because he goes into what didn't go right with his run in AEW, what conversely went right, and I honestly gave an honest opinion with Tony Khan, as far as like he said he's a nice guy, but he's not a boss. And I feel like when you see things happen with AEW, especially with the way that conflict resolution does really never happens in that place, it runs true with a lot of shit. And um, because every time there's any bit of drama, it's like you're trying to put a band-aid over a gunshot wound, and you wonder why the person's is still bleeding out. And I make no mistake, y'all, like there is a need for AEW, even though WWE is getting better from what they were doing those last few years with the old man. There's still a need for AEW, 100%. Like I can knock AEW all day long, but at the end of the day, it's not coming from a place of I don't want AEW to be here or exist. It's more like, hey, I actually want the shit to be good, and they're doing so much shit out here that's not working, and I feel like we should have to um experiment and try things out and see what works. I'm like, one, you could get away with that in like year 1, year 2, maybe year 3. You're about to hit year 5, and you're still making a lot of the same mistakes that you're making in year 1 and year 2, and you shouldn't have to. Like, why would I lean into a bullet if I know it's being fired? It makes no sense. And I feel as though Punk pointed out, or at least confirmed, a lot of concerns that I think a lot of people have with their product. I think there are a lot of people who still, I think there are a lot of people who just want AEW to succeed no matter what. And I'm like,
Yes.
more power to you. But at
And
the
it's
same time, you have to at least understand that where they are right now, even from where they were 3 or 4 years ago, is not the same spot. Like, I remember, I think it was last year, they had their anniversary show in October. They still had it in DC. But remember, like that first Dynamite show was at the Capital One Center, Chinatown, DC, 20,000 people. Fast forward to I think last year, they were in the arena where the Washington Mystics play, which barely I think holds like
5,000.
5,000,
Yeah, 5,000.
and it wasn't sold out. So you clearly you have an issue where even when you hit certain cities back up, the interest isn't there like it used to be. Like even like here in Atlanta, when the first time when they were in Atlanta, they were at State Farm Arena. That's when Cody jumped out the steel cage against Wardlow, I believe.
Yeah.
Now, and I actually went to the show last year, which was Punk's last U.S. show here in AEW before he got fired. That was up in Duluth, and it was a solid crowd. Like the upper deck wasn't there's nobody in the upper deck, but it still was a solid crowd. I know, like they were just here a few weeks ago, same arena. It was I think they had like about 5,000 in August last year. I think they had like 3 and change a couple weeks ago. And it's like dog, like
there are bands who can bring in 3,000 people. Like
yeah.
That's crazy.
And I'm like, it's not like Atlanta's is hurting for fans. I'm like there's plenty of wrestling fans here in Atlanta.
Easily been able to find that some wrestling fans easily.
So I think one thing they actually messed up on, which I don't know why people didn't think about it, was you just had Sting retire. The first show that you have after that show, you don't have him do a farewell speech in Atlanta, the one place where he made his name in his career. How do you not think about that? But yeah, I'm just over here trying to make sense. But yeah, like I like you're seeing a clear trend where people aren't as interested as they once were because they see it and they see what you present and they're like, okay, I saw it and that was it. And if it didn't come back another year or so, they probably just fine. But you keep hitting up the same markets thinking that, these markets are safe. And then you realize that even those markets are safe because they're catching on to what's happening and it's not good.
They need to just do what NXT does and just buy a building and just use the same building every single day, every single week, and just build a crowd in a certain place. Like pick a big city so you don't necessarily have to worry about like
they might need that run at Disney World like WCW did, like when they spent that summer in Atlanta. Just
that'd be great. That's exactly what they should do.
And like once it gets cold again, then we'll go back out and travel. But just stay in one spot. Say, hey, just keep it safe for right now.
Some money, build up some storylines, do some extra shows. Like, actually, don't do that. They do too many shows, honestly.
Yeah,
but they just need to stay in a spot, build some continuity, build some story, have us be able to see the same space.
Actually,
a bunch of people
actually develop some fucking stories because I feel like another point that I was listening to yesterday's Busted Open today, and one of the things that was discussed was that typically the good stories that have come out of AEW have typically involved people who did that creative themselves instead of it coming from Tony. And the thing about that is what happens when those people leave? Because of course you just had one person leave and probably gave you like your best 2 angles over the course of AEW's history. And then 2, like at what point are you going to actually take the advice to the people around you and be like, hey, I have a wealth of talent and experience around me. Maybe I should use this to develop my own creative ability so that way I can actually create some good stories instead of just burning through everything like it's fucking a dollar bill for a billionaire. It's like, dog, like you could do so. The fans deserve better. The wrestlers deserve better. And again, it's a case of like, I don't think there's anybody that doesn't sincerely want AEW to work because I feel like there's a need for that space in the wrestling atmosphere. But if you're just gonna be that stubborn and be committed to failing like this just because at the end of the day you're still going to be filthy rich or whatever. Like, everybody should just walk, because again, especially with the way the WWE is running so hot right now, my worry is that they're gonna fumble this bag. They're gonna fumble this TV deal that they keep saying they're trying to get, and they're gonna go the way of TNA, where it's like, hey, we'll still be around. It just be at a much smaller scale, and hiring the guys that need a place to work, and we'll figure things out from there. I'm like, I feel like, especially with if they were smart and if he's available, they need to go ahead and grab Scott Demore, who just got fired from TNA a couple months ago. Because I'm like, dog, like he was at least gave you something consistent as far as creative. I'm like, I think it's crazy that he got fired from there because he wanted to buy out TNA, but that you need somebody who actually has the right mind for this business. And it's not Tony Khan. I said, bless his heart completely, because I know he's in the right place, but at the same time, just because you can,
he's too much of a
doesn't
fan.
mean you should.
He's just too much of a fan. He just wants the wrestlers to be friends with him. He wants them to leave happy, and like he does well by the wrestlers, and that's fine. But sometimes, for like a show's sake and a storyline's sake, you can't do great by every wrestler. Like you can't let every wrestler leave happy. That's fine, but it's just like you gotta think of yourself. And he's just lucky he's very rich, or else AEW would have been gone years ago.
But yes, please watch that interview. Like I said, it definitely uncovers a lot. It talks about the fight with Jack Perry. It talks about because he doesn't have an NDA on that one.
Shockingly.
And just how Collision was basically how that came about, and how the idea was to make that show so that the people with issues would be kept separately. And of course, he realized that Punk realized very quickly that wasn't going to work. And of course, the situation with Jack Perry started, like, I think on the second Collision taping. So that goes to show you, like, yeah, it was never going to work out anyway. So yeah.
Oh man. Oh yeah. AEW is crazy, and so I wasn't aware that you were tapped in like this. So once I get tapped back into the AEW, I'm down to talk all this stuff. We can cover all the things, because that's what I love about wrestling is. Like, wrestling is one of the
few. See this nice shiny big head? It's got all the knowledge that you can stand. Trust me, it ain't just soccer in here, baby. It's so much.
Because certain old soccer games I watch, like, that are dear to me, but I can just watch any like old wrestling and just like, this is cool, this is great. Like I love going to Peacock and just being like, all right, let's watch these old Survivor Series from the 90s, and I have no tie to them, and they're great. Whereas I'm not just gonna watch some random January match in '94 between Arsenal and
like
somebody. Like that's just not what I'm gonna do.
I tried doing so. Like, here's the thing. There was definitely a point in time where, especially like all the superstar shows and all the wrestling challenges, it's like, how did we get through this? Because like, thankfully, I think the shows were like only like an hour back then, so like at least they flew by very quickly. But yeah, like there'd just be some matches I'm like, what is happening? Why are we here? But like, the one thing I will give credit for, and it's honestly surprising, like when I went back and watched it, for as much as people try to knock the 80s WWF product, it ages well better than people think. Because you could have, like, I remember watching, like, I think it was Saturday Night's Main Event, and they had Tito. They had a 6-man tag, but the focus was around Tito Santana and Rick Martel after Strikeforce broke up. And that crowd was lit, and of course there wasn't any belts involved. It was just a regular mid card angle, and that shit was hot. And and that's because the story actually clicked. And if you don't, again, to circle all the way back to what I said at the beginning, storytelling matters. And if you do that, you'll lock these fans in every single time.
Yeah. Facts,
I think that leads us to the main event.
Exactly. Which is an amazing story that has been 2 years in the making. So we'll even go from the aspect of episode 1, where we said that we think Roman and The Rock would win. So in theory, this night 2 match, Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes, would be bloodline rules. Anything goes, anything is possible. Let's get it. And obviously, with The Rock being here, with Triple H taking over, the Attitude Era is showing up and showing out. And I think we're going to get anybody and everybody showing up in this match. Anybody who has been screwed over by Roman Reigns, by the Usos, by Solo, by anybody. It's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a lot.
Now, to be the resident conspiracy theorist, of course, the infamous segment last week on Raw where The Rock beats down Cody in the rain. Everyone wanted to make a big deal about. There was a trailer in the background of 2 certain wrestlers, all-time Hall of Fame, top of the top superstars, and they wanted to make the assumption that they might make an appearance at WrestleMania. And we're talking about Stone Cold Steve Austin and John Cena. Got a trivia question for you here, Mr. Crunk. You know where WrestleMania 15 was?
No idea.
Philadelphia. Would you happen to know what the main event was for that show?
Was it Stone Cold and John Cena?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's like
one of them right. It was Stone Cold Steve Austin and
The Rock. Yes.
Where are they at this year? Philadelphia. Let's just say history repeats itself.
Well, in The Rock, or not The Rock, but Stone Cold has been seen. He made a ring built in his house. He's been working out a lot. It's interesting to see all of these things happening and moving and going. And I'm in theory, all Stone Cold would need to do is just show up for 2 seconds and Stone Cold stun The Rock and leave, like curse in his face, drink a beer, dump the beer on The Rock maybe, and then get out of there. So he doesn't have to like take any bumps or do anything crazy.
Yeah. I mean, and plus the easy connection is there. Austin with The Rock, Cena with Roman and The Rock. I mean, again, like it's.
I just don't get what, other than John Cena being John Cena, why would he show up? Because he got his ass smacked by Solo. So I mean,
you guys asked back by Roman too.
I don't know. I know that John Cena is a big name, and he's the modern Hulk Hogan. So like you could just bring him in as often in as many ways as you can. But I just, I am oversaturated by John Cena. I'm so over, dude. Like he needs to sit his ass down.
Like if there was ever a moment where, because again, like his last big match for a world title was against Roman, got smashed. Obviously, his last match in general against Solo got smashed,
real smashed.
Of course, you have the history with him and Rock that goes back to the last run that Rock had, and obviously you have Austin's history with The Rock, and if there was ever a moment where you could use all of that to basically coronate your next big babyface in this big old Avengers Endgame style ending,
1,000%. 1,000%.
is here. It's absolutely here.
That sounds. It just sounds like so much. So like they
It
help
does.
Cody win, and then so he's celebrating, and then you have like Stone Cold and John Cena and all them clapping for him. I don't know. It just sounds like
They're drinking
so
the
much.
beers. They're
Oh,
celebrating the fireworks are going off. I mean, like I said, it's a lot. But of course, this is what they're trying to do to crown their next big babyface. Because all things considered, and I'm sure that we'll probably talk about this in future shows. Since Triple H has taken over, for all intents and purposes, he really hasn't built a great babyface yet. And this is pretty much his moment to finally say, like, hey, we are now running with this guy. And it doesn't mean that Roman's story is necessarily over. It just means that whatever it is that you want to do with him and The Rock can now and move in its own path without the belt. And the thing about that is, like, you can actually still circle back around, bring the belt back into it, and it'll still be all right. Because I feel like we're not going to have a 4-year run with Cody with the belt. We're just not having that.
no.
I think that he wants to do it kind of in the same way that his dad did it. Because, like, the crazy thing
Win it and lose it
about
in 10 minutes.
all things considered, like, Dusty never really held the NWA World Title for very long. I think, like, from what people looked up, like, he had 3 runs with the World Title, and combined, he didn't have it 100 days. And this is a guy that was pretty much at the top of the NWA for at least a good 7 to 10 years, and as probably the biggest babyface throughout all the territories. And they were able to do that without keeping him as champ. Now, of course, the dynamic is a whole lot different now, but I don't think that you necessarily need to have Cody match the same run as Roman's had. You just need him to have it long enough to where it's like, okay, like, he lost it now. He'll get it back probably in another year or so, and we keep going in this cycle and everything. But I think that if there was ever a moment, this is it. Obviously, I think there's a big risk. There is a chance that Roman can win. I will say that, and but I also feel like if you do that, you take a big risk in hoping that people will still be as invested in Cody as a main event contender, because all they're going to keep thinking is that
they're over him because it's what that's what that if Cody loses again, it's basically what they did to him at AEW. I mean, without
actually probably
saying
even worse, because at least they took him out the frame very quickly in AEW. Here, it's like you're getting everybody's hopes up, only for him to lose again. And it's like, is that the narrative that you want to give, as far as just like the guy that gets all the way to the very close and gets close to anybody else but always loses? Is that what you want to create? Or do you want to actually, like, at some point you actually still have to have that person win? And that's the important part there. Because even if he loses it, it's like, okay, we believe that you're going to go back and get it again.
Okay, so Cody wins. And it's what everybody says and what everybody's asking. How long before people turn on him? How long before the whole happy-go-lucky, super happy thing? Because we're not in the time where you can do, like, because people were over with it with John Cena, and we are in a much more annoyed world situation than we are back then in the aughts.
That's a very good question. I feel like hopefully they realize it before it gets kind of off the rails. I do think that he'll lose the belt before the end of this year, and you might put him in a position where he's back in the title match by next WrestleMania, maybe, because I do think that at some point there's still meat on the table as far as both getting back to a Seth Cody Mania match, but there's also meat on the table as far as a Seth Roman Mania match, which I think that really should happen. And like the fact that they've kind of touched on the fact that they had that Mania match, not that Mania match, that Royal Rumble match in 2022, but they never had any real follow up to that, and I feel like that one kind of warrants some follow up, and especially by now. And I feel like, I don't think Seth will turn at Mania, but it's going to come pretty soon afterwards.
Well, especially if Seth, I think if Seth loses, I think he's definitely going to go after Cody's title. He's going to be like, look, you owe me this. I lost my title to help you get yours. This is the least you can do. And I would say that he should win. Because again, everybody loves Cody's chase more than I think they're going to love him being the guy.
Very much so. And that's why I think that, again, like it's not meant for him to have a long run. I feel like the chase for him, like much like his dad, that's where the money is. And like I said, he'll have it long enough to where people don't think that he was a scrub. Like they won't pull a Kofi Kingston. They won't pull a Kofi Kingston on him or anything. But it won't be some 5-year odyssey. Like that ain't happening. It's just not.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. It might be it's gonna be a month. It's gonna be 2 months. It's gonna be a glorious 2 months, and he will get screwed over to lose his title because that's the only way that's gonna make sense. But he's gonna but the bangers of matches that he's gonna have some bangers. He's gonna have some where he's just like utterly dominant, and you're like, how's he gonna lose?
Actually, I got that one for you. Go ahead, spoiler alert for you right now. Bash at Berlin. Bash at Berlin. He's losing to Gunther.
I would love that though. And honestly, it would make perfect sense for Gunther to just kind of come in and just beat the frick out of him. Just beat the brakes off of him. It makes sense. Like Cody could do whatever he wants, but Gunther just gets back up and just those chops.
Yeah, because like that'll be the one place where he might be considered somewhat of a not so much a heel, but at least you already know that Gunther's probably going to carry that crowd.
1,000%.
So, and I feel like if there was ever a moment where it'd be like, hey, Gunther has the home crowd, he has the advantage. He's probably going to still be running hot, whether or not he has IC belt or not. But that'll be the moment, and I feel as though that run might be something to pay attention to. But yeah, Cody will always be that. The chase will be the money where the money is for him. And I feel like we almost kind of forgot. Drew's beating Seth.
Yes, Drew is beating Seth. Unfortunately, Drew is beating Seth. Yes. And we got Cody winning as well. So
yeah. But yeah, I mean, this weekend we got a lot to hit up this weekend, and because we got the Hall of Fame on Friday. We got Stand and Deliver on Saturday at noon, which I'm telling you,
excited about that. It's gonna be great.
I'm so ready for Trick. You have no idea. Like that dude is screaming money.
Oh, 1,000%. He's a star. He's such just the way that he talks, the way that he looks, his size, and that's why I feel bad about Melo, because it's like I always thought
everything that people thought about Melo it's Trick.
right? It's true for Trick. Like
Yeah.
it was, everybody's like, yeah, despite Melo being his size, he's still great. He still says all this stuff, and he does. But then you get Trick, and you're just like, oh yeah.
Yeah. It's like, what do you want me to say? It's like it's right there.
Like, man, yeah, he's a star, and I really fuck with Lyra Valkyria. There's a lot going on with NXT. The Wolf Dogs, I hope they keep winning. Oddly enough,
I'm kind of surprised at who they put him against for the tag title match, but I'm like,
that's why I think
okay,
they're gonna win. That's why I think they're gonna win, because it's like I don't want to see either of those people beating them.
Yeah, I'm like, this is who you got. Okay, you know, like, hey, whatever works, but okay.
I think Braun is turning on him. I think that's what's gonna happen, because he already got called up, and that way that now when they have him break him up and have Braun turn on him, now
Actually,
he needs to move him
I
up
see the
on.
other way. I see Corbin's turning on Braun. I feel like they really want to make, like, because you have Roman occupying so much of the top end of the heels on the main roster, you're in a space where you need baby faces, and I feel like at least for the interim, you're gonna try to see if Braun can work as a babyface. Of course, I think that his money is by far as a heel, but I also feel like
Put him in the colors, make him smile.
there's a space for him to where he probably could work as a babyface, but it's never anything that would be like long term.
Yeah,
So.
and it's never, and it's not even like a baby face as in he's like super nice like Cody. It's just he doesn't insult people, but he still like spears people off the body. But yeah, because even when they called him up, they put him back in like the colorful stuff, and I hate it. I hate it so much. It's just like, why are we turning him into like a PBS channel TV like kid after school channel show character? Like it's very frustrating.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
Right. Well, what else we got? I said it's gonna be a dope weekend again, y'all.
It's gonna be a great weekend.
I need your prayers again. It's NC State.
He's gonna be. Yeah, I'm worried about
Saturday. Saturday's gonna be. It's gonna be a lot Saturday.
It's gonna be a lot. Yeah, man.
Because I got to be up early for She Believes. You know, anybody here that's either coming to Atlanta or going to already here, hit up the tailgate for the She Believes Cup. We're over at beside the CNN lot, CNN Center. Well, what used to be the CNN Center, and we'll be doing a march up to the stadium and everything. And hit us up, hit Shea Butter up. It's gonna be a whole vibe this whole weekend again. Between that, Final Four, WrestleMania Night 1 and 2, Stand and Deliver, Hall of Fame, like it's gonna be a straight up movie night. Hopefully you guys enjoy us on this revamped, I can say it right, revamped version of the podcast.
Revamp, baby.
And I said, enjoy us. Give us a follow. Give us the 5 stars. Give us all the thumbs.
Yes.
And if you got more fingers to give those to us as well.
We'll take all the appendages, baby.
Yes.
Oh man. Yeah, I'm super excited to do this. This is fun, because especially like I love talking football and I love talking sports, but they're just like something inherently just like fun about talking wrestling, especially because you can take it seriously, or you can attack the kayfabe, or you can get conspiracy brained, or you can talk about the history. Like there's just so many different things that you can go with wrestling, and that's what I love about this. And Greggo, obviously being the man who loves it himself, like I think we're going to be able to have plenty of just like side episodes that have nothing to do with like current wrestling. It can be interviews and past things and future thoughts on conspiracies. So totally subscribe, check in, tap in, get used to us. We appreciate you. I am CrunkChocolate. This is my show, bro, Greggo. We are your favorite wrestling podcast. We will see you very soon. Peace.